I just watched your State of the State address, and you said it's cool once again to be from New Jersey. It sounded a little like Tony Blair. Give us your first answer to the question of why is it cool again to be from New Jersey?
Good to be back, David. I'd say most importantly, we're standing for all the right things. We're protecting people's rights, respecting and embracing the word justice, growing the economy, finding new sources of economic growth, making the state more affordable, plus some other cool stuff like a 9-mile greenway that will dwarf Manhattan's High Line. We're going to host the World Cup in 4 years. The Pompidou Center has chosen Jersey to plant its America's flag. But on the core stuff that matter at the kitchen table, we're making a lot of progress. We're not there yet, but we're making a lot of progress.
So making a lot of progress on a lot of fronts. Let's talk about the economic growth that you just referred to specifically. One of the issues in your State of the State address was giving, I'll put it this way, you can correct me if I'm wrong, giving some incentives to some companies to keep their workers in New Jersey so they don't have to commute into New York. Have you talked to Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, about that? Is she speaking to you at this point?
Oh, listen, we've got a great relationship. Even where we don't agree on things, it's nothing but mutual respect, and she's doing a terrific job. But we have to recognize that not every job's going to be in a physical office. As long as the job is in New Jersey, we want that job. Whether it's, I mentioned in my speech, whether it's at an office tower in Newark, where I am now, or at a kitchen table in Cherry Hill, we want those jobs in Jersey. We want to embrace and recognize the new reality.
What kind of tax dollars come with those jobs being in New Jersey versus New York? Because I've seen numbers that New York gets something like $3.7, $3.8 billion a year from New Jersey residents commuting in. What does that mean net to New Jersey in success on your plan?
Yeah, I don't know that I've got a specific number for you, but we're not thrilled with that tax dislocation, if you will, and that takes it out of the state's coffers, and that's something we're fighting for. But I think more importantly, David, it's embracing the fact that not everybody's going to be in the office 5 days a week like the old days. It's just not going to be the case. It might be if you're in an industry or a business that requires it, like hospitality, clearly. But if you're in one of the big companies in our state, let's recognize it's a new reality.
Governor Murphy, just about the time that you were giving your State of the State address, your friend Kathy Hochul was giving hers in New York, and she said, no new taxes. We're not going to increase any taxes. Can you make that pledge to New Jersey?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, you're going to see significant tax cuts. We've got a massive historic property tax relief program called Anchor, for which probably 2 million households are eligible, and probably that represents over half of our entire population. And we're looking at other tax cuts. We delivered, I think at this point, 14 or 15 tax cuts already for the middle class, for seniors, for working families, and we're not going to relent. But absolutely no new taxes.
You have, as I understand, a corporate business a surcharge tax that's been in effect that is due to expire. Do you plan to keep that going, or are you going to let that lapse?
I'm on the side. A deal is a deal. We committed that would lapse and go away, and that's where I am as we speak.
Let's talk about transit. You also addressed that in your State of the State address, and particularly addressed the issue with reduced foot traffic in some cities, some towns, and what that's doing to transit. Are we moving in New Jersey? Perhaps we are doing this in New York as well, to a world where we have fewer people riding, but the fares are higher.
No, the fares, we've kept them flat for 5 years in a row, and I'm not going to make any news in terms of my budget today, which I'll submit in 7 weeks. But that would be my huge bias, to try to keep fares from going up. Our guys and gals at NJ Transit, to their credit, with a lot of support from our office, they've been able to thread the needle very effectively so far. A lot of the big rail and bus systems in the country have not been able to, but our folks have been able to. So far, so good. We're making a lot of improvements to our stations. Our performance in terms of on time and safety and reliability is up across the board. We're not satisfied yet, but they've been able to hold their own and improve throughout this whole pandemic.
Governor Murphy, the day may come when I can talk to you about transit and not talk about tunnels under the Hudson Rivers, but that day is not now. We still have to talk about it. Where are we on that? As you know, a lot of our viewers, a lot of our listeners are very concerned about that issue.
Yeah, we made a lot of progress this year, and I couldn't be happier about the progress. At long last, I might add. We got gummed up for too long. My predecessor canceled the prior version of this, but we're making a lot of progress. In fact, working with New York and Amtrak and our congressional delegation, we just got a $292 million grant for the Gateway project, these two new rail tunnels under the Hudson. We hope and believe that's the first grant of many more to come that will allow us to, at long last, build these tunnels and rehab the old ones that are already there.
Governor, one of the things you did address in your State of the State address was what's going on at Newark Airport. You have a new Terminal A, really a big project out there. We're getting some reports today that actually they're having some problems with that opening. Well, can you bring us up to speed? What are you hearing right now about that opening?
Well, I've got a relative, one of our children is actually flying out of there today. So right after I get off with you, I'm going to have a firsthand account of what's going on there. I'm hearing similar. First of all, it's an extraordinary terminal. It is arguably the most state-of-the-art terminal in the world, never mind the United States. But I've actually been at a terminal opening in my own personal experience. Day ones are usually challenging. So I'm not shocked, particularly given the ground stoppage that we had yesterday. You already had a day that was promising to be challenging, but we'll get through this, and it's going to be a real badge of honor for many decades to come.
Governor, as I say, you laid out a lot of things in your State of the State address and that you're very proud of in New Jersey and why it is cool to come from New Jersey. How much of that applies nationwide? I know you're now head of the National Governors Association. How much of it is unique to New Jersey, and how much of what you're doing, what you're seeing, what you're experiencing in New Jersey could be applied elsewhere through the country?
I think it's a little of both. I mean, the Jersey attitude, the swagger, which in the past we needed to push back against the slights or being the butt of jokes. We've always had that, I think, quite uniquely. There's a New Jersey character that I don't think any other state can come close to. But on the other hand, I think a lot of what we're doing, how we're growing the economy, getting our credit rating upgraded, investing all-time records in education and infrastructure, we're not patting ourselves on the back. And we are far from perfect, and we are far from finished with all the work we have to do. But I think there's a lot there that we can share with others. You know, I am the chair of the National Governors Association. It's a great organization to both promote what you're doing and also look at what others are doing and, frankly, rip pages out of their playbook. It goes both ways.
Well, and maybe not rip pages out of their playbook. I mean, one of the references you had in your speech that I think people paid attention to was you didn't quite know what it meant to say this is the state where woke goes to die. Some of us would think that was a direct hit against Governor DeSantis in Florida. Are you the alternative to Governor DeSantis right now on the national stage?
Listen, I don't know about that, but I don't understand some of the stuff that leaders say these days, some of their priorities. I live, and our administration lives at the kitchen table with middle-class families, with seniors. What are we going to do about job security, benefits, education, the basic core stuff, making sure your kids have a better future than mom and dad had, which, by the way, was always the deal in the American dream, and we're rebuilding that here. That's where we're focused. We're not focused, frankly, on gotchas or quick taglines. We're at the kitchen table, and that's where I want to stay.
And finally, Governor, I want to come back to something you and I have talked about before, and that's the tax level in New Jersey. And in the past, if I can paraphrase what I heard you say, is look, you get what you pay for. And people live in New Jersey because they like the package of goods and services they get for the taxes they pay. They're willing to pay taxes. Is that possible to sell on a national stage? Right now, we're contending with such difficulty on deficits and debts, and we can't pay the taxes we need. Is that a message you think that could carry nationally, that yes, we may have more taxes provided we're actually giving something of value for them?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the one caveat, though, is the way you phrased it, which I don't necessarily disagree with, implies that we don't care about affordability, and we're obsessed with affordability. Historic property tax relief, all sorts of other tax cuts, especially for the middle class and and seniors. So we want to make sure the price you pay for that extraordinary basket of stuff you get back in New Jersey is a fair price. But I think that, frankly, that balance, if you get that balance right, I think that's sort of at the core of the American dream. High quality public education, high quality healthcare, great quality of life. Your kids will do better than mom and dad. It seems to me those are elements that define the American dream. Again, making sure the price that you pay for that is a fair one. Obviously, then that's a big part of it too.